So here we have a little thing I've knocked up for you. Essentially about becoming fully booked without relying on social media. Now, this isn't to say that we don't need it, but this is for those of you that maybe get wrapped up in your own head about having to be there all the time. Because to be honest, this stuff works for both in-person and online coaches. If you've got hybrid models, wicked, then we can utilize this. And I truly, 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 truly believe that if, irrespective of the model, one-to-one, small group, hybrid, online one-to-one, online small group, etc., we can really have a decent business, full business, without having to rely on social media. And because the thing that I see all the time everywhere, and I'm sure that, you're obviously working with me anyway, but like you might still see other people be like, you have to do this, you have to do that. And I really don't believe you have to do anything if you really don't want to. We can make these things work for us. And I really will push that we want to run businesses that suit us, that we enjoy, with clients we enjoy being around, etc. And so I really want to help you do that as well. And I think this is something that's mega. And I think as we go through this and as you go through this, give everything a good go, because it really does begin to open doors. And even my own background, like with my one-to-ones now, I still pull in my one-to-ones from some of these things that I'm going to go through. And my face-to-face one-to-ones, naturally. But even some of the online clients that we get, most of our online clients have come from things like this in the local area and stuff. So what we'll go through is I'll briefly touch on why I think we over-rely on social media. I'll give you a game to play that will help you come up with almost unlimited ideas for lead generation. I'll show you kind of like the 40 plus that I've already come up with to help you out here as well. And then I'll just talk you through like what I'll call the core method of filling your books, right? And it's a nice way of understanding how we can go about implementing some of these ideas that we have for lead generation outside of social media in a way that actually begins to lead to something over time. Now, I'll move myself over here. The internet's not new, right? It's been going for 25, 30 years now, and it is really powerful. Its reach is literally worldwide. So for those of us with online parts of the business, or if we're totally online, that's great. That gives us a reach to people everywhere who might want to work with us. That's really cool. But what it does do, it begins to make it too easy to hide behind our phones, post something on the grid, and then just hope that people stumble upon us. And I don't think this is very useful for in-person PTs, but I also don't think it's very useful for online PTs either, because our ability to connect with humans as a human is going to be huge. Now, pretty much any of you guys watching this that I've worked with, like, we will most likely have spoken at some capacity, whether it be DMs or in person, etc. Right? I've met some of you guys in person at events over the years, or we've been speaking on social media, like, but hopefully nothing loads and loads about work type stuff, sort of, but also some other stuff as well, right? But we'll have some form of relationship in some respect. And I think we're forgetting how to build those relationships and build rapport with one another. Because I think that's really important if people are going to become clients of yours. Like, people buy people. I don't think, that's too far wrong. We can go too far wrong with that. I also just think we don't need to search online for clients when we have so many gyms and we have a local area. Wherever we're based, there's a local area and it's full of people. And all of those people could potentially be somebody that you end up working with. So what I want to do is begin to play a game first before I show you anything. So I want you to pause this video, set a timer for 3 minutes, and then list 10 places where you or your clients hang out. Now, you have complete free reign here. There's no idea too silly and no idea too stupid. But where do people hang out? Be really specific. Don't be general, be specific, because every individual place will, in its own respect, be somewhere where they hang out. Okay? But once you've done 10, you can unpause this video, skip to move on to the next bit. Okay? So hopefully then, now you've done that, you've done your 3 minute timer, or you've beat the 3 minute timer to written 10. I now want you to set another 3 minutes and list 10 more or more than that if you can. Utilize that full 3 minutes and you should end up with a list. So again, pause the video, do another 10, be active with this. Like I say, don't skip this and bypass this just to see where I've come up with in the next couple of things. Really give this a go, because I believe that like this is something more new that I've started doing as well. And it was because I was shown this by someone. You know, I've not created this at all, but I think it's an amazing game to play with ideas and just allowing your brain to become more creative and more open to thinking of just random shit. Like I said, we can write stuff down here and it might be useless and we might never use it. That's fine. But if we allow our brain to think laterally and allow us to think that anything is an opportunity, then we begin to see more opportunities, which I think is the most important part to this. Okay, so pause this for 3 minutes, write down 10 or more, like say, utilize that full 3 minutes, then come back and I'll show you where we're at with mine. Okay, so hopefully now you've come up with your own list. Here's my ever evolving list. There's 47 ideas on here. Maybe you have some of the same, maybe you don't. Okay, but we've got parkrun, charity events, golf course, the golf range, coffee shops, speaking events, the hanging out with friends, gym classes, the gym floor, children's sports teams like they're watching, or well, they're not going to be taking part in their children's sports teams, but like maybe their own sports teams we could add on there. Leisure centres, spas, in their car, maybe they're driving to work, restaurants, cafes, Warhammer stores, the local Lido, Slimming World Club, etc, etc, etc. Like you can see them. So again, nothing is too stupid. Like children's sports teams, for example, might be something where you think, oh, why would I really think about that? Driving in their car. Okay, well, that seems like a silly thing to think of. But does it really though? Because that means they're going to be passing places and seeing things. Maybe you see the same people driving at the same time or commuting, you know, for example, on the tube. There's been instances when I used to work in the city and I used to get the tube in. I used to go at the same time most days and see the same people sitting in the same chairs in the same carriage. We ended up speaking, as the world would have it, a few years down the line. They ended up at the gym I then worked at. We got talking and that led towards them becoming clients. So it's really weird and wonderful things where nothing is too stupid. Okay, so you can use some of these ideas. You can keep adding to it. You can keep coming back every time you think of somewhere new, or you come across somewhere new, or you go somewhere new. I would advise writing something like this down, because you never know what ideas you might have that then lead into, you know, this being a place where you can end up picking up clients for any of your services. Okay, but it's safe to say we have loads of options, and none of those things require you to be on social media, right? But the next stage really is how to take all these places and actually turn them into places where we can begin to fill our books and get clients. Okay, and a couple of examples really, like how I've since making this kind of slideshow presentation, so to say, like in the 7 days prior to me finishing it, I've potentially added 4 clients to my normal one-to-one personal training, right? The first time was on the golf course, and it was a random man called Roop. I invited him to play 3 holes with me because we both got to the golf range. The golf range has amazingly run out of balls, which is unbelievable. And they let us go out onto the golf course for free. So we both literally just got annoyed at the same time because we travelled all the way there. I said to him, look, I'm going to go out and just knock a few balls anyway because I've bothered coming up here. Feel free to come and join me. He was unsure. I was like, it's fine, honestly, I really don't mind coming on. He said, yes. Blah, blah, blah. We played 3 holes. We were with each other for 40 minutes, no longer. And since then, in the last 7 days after that occurrence, he'd referred 2 of his friends or friend and a neighbour to come and speak to me because he knew people that were interested in personal training. Also, it was the week of my birthday. Costa give you a free cake. So I went in to cash in my free cake. And there was a new barista there working with one of the baristas I already speak to. Her name was Yuli. And because I am learning to speak Spanish, and I know that they were speaking Spanish, so I overheard the new one speaking Spanish, so I began to speak in Spanish as well. Embarrassed myself by getting a few things wrong. I don't mind these sorts of things. We had a laugh about it. But again, as conversation then transpired, she's added me on Facebook and shared one of my posts. Again, that could lead to somewhere potentially. And then again, celebrating my birthday, we were at a restaurant, and I've put here, I've committed the cardinal sin because I didn't get the lady's name. But that was because she'd previously seen me and Charlie in the gym that we used to work at. She started speaking to Charlie about that there, really, and we all got talking. And essentially, I think I had to change this. She was mentioning about turning up to the class, but it actually transpired that she did turn up to the class because we got talking about certain things, right? 3 completely random things in a 7-day period of time for me, and it's all legit, no bullshit here. These things can pop up absolutely anywhere, which I think is amazing if we know how to do this, and if we know how to just kind of lead things in such a way that the door is always open, right? And this is where I kind of have ended up landing on this core framework, essentially, right? It's the core that we care for. So the C actually stands for connection. And we are looking to immediately try and connect with somebody and the person in front of you. And I think that it really helps if we can go about noticing something about them, something within our shared environment, and something that we can actually genuinely connect over, right? None of this that we're going to hear is about falsifying or pretending or just bullshitting your way into that, because people will suss you out. It's clean and simple, right? So, for example, me with that guy Roop on the golf course, we obviously both like playing golf. I very much led the conversation there around golf. Was he practicing something? Does he normally play? How often he plays? When did he get into it? Etc. 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 And because I was showing genuine interest into why they were there and their perspective, right? I mean, I like being interested in people. I think it can be super helpful, and I think it's genuinely very interesting. So we got there, and I asked him a couple of questions that were easy and non-intrusive, like asking somebody how long they've played golf and whether they were there to practice anything isn't intrusive. I'm not trying to find out his life story, but I did end up finding it out because where I was showing interest, the door, and it kind of eased this person into maybe me being a friendly person. It opened the door to slightly deeper conversations, right? So I found out where he worked. He told me he was going on holiday with his wife and a couple of kids, etc. The other example being like with the barista, Costa, because she was speaking Spanish, I then led with the question of like, oh, where are you from to be speaking Spanish? It transpired she was from Venezuela. I'd already heard about it. So I said to her, I was like, oh, I've heard it's a beautiful country. Whereabouts in Venezuela are you from? Again, it's not too intrusive. It's more about showing interest in where they're from. And she very passionately then told me about Venezuela and like when she left and all those sorts of things, right? Because it was home for her, and she got to speak about it, which she probably doesn't get to do that often in the UK. And then the last little bit of that is then just remembering some of the things. Like, yes, this is the hard part, but it's those little details that can matter and can be greatly, greatly appreciated, right? If somebody remembers your name and somebody says your name, you will feel a little bit better about things. You'll feel a little bit better about that person who has taken their time to remember and at least try and remember your name, right? Like I put here, I think it helps people feel like you just give a shit about what they have to say. So they're more, your ability to build a connection with that person increases because they're more open to wanting to build one with you, because they're like, this person's not just here trying to sell something, which is made easier when we don't even speak about the business that we're doing and that we're trying to obviously build, right? We then move into the O side of things. It's like the offering micro value. And as your connection grows with a person, you'll begin to spot the right time to offer something of use to this person, right? Whether it's a person or a group of people. And in this kind of opportunity that we may see, we're just trying to look to deliver that aha moment and help them with that little problem or struggle they're having, right? So, if we take this more in towards like a gym environment, for example, a little bit more relevant, right? Because if I brief pause and go back, right, these connections that we're building, I'm giving you examples outside of the gym, but these are very much things you can be doing inside the gym too, all right? It's not about this only works outside the gym. You should be building connections with people, and being very interested in the people that are there it doesn't even necessarily have to be about the gym. Try not to connect with them on the gym, right? Because again, their senses are going, right, they're a PT, they obviously want me to sign up. But actually, if you can see what they're enjoying from the classes, why they're coming, why are they bothering to be at the gym, have they had any holidays in summer, winter, Easter, blah, 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 blah. That's all interesting stuff that you can find out about these people. But again, once we're having those connections and we're building our relationships and rapport with these people, especially in the gym, you might be able to show a class member how to squat properly so their knee doesn't hurt so much. If you always get the same person coming to the classes and they're always grumbling, or you notice that in the classes they're like rubbing the knee, but then they try and crack on anyway because they don't want to disturb things. There's absolutely nothing wrong with going over there and be like, hey, like, Sally, how you doing? I've noticed that you keep rubbing your knee. Like, is everything okay? Is something going on with the knee? I appreciate you might not want to like disturb me during the class, and I love that you're trying to give it a go, but is there something I can help with? And she went, oh yeah, it just hurts here. And you go, okay, right, well actually, like, if you've got 5 minutes, do you want me to just show you something that might be able to help? Yes or no? Maybe she'll say yes, and then you can go and give her that aha moment, for example. Again, over time, we then might want to move on to R, which is raising curiosity. So there will be a point, inevitably, unless you're talking to someone that's extremely selfish, like conversations work 2 ways. So your job will inevitably come up. And realistically, even now, people still don't really understand what personal training is. So where relevant, we can explain the jobs that we do in terms of speaking about the clients that we're already helping that may resonate with that person you're speaking to and their scenario. So it's like you're almost helping them realize that you work with people that are just like them. So for example, like the Spanish barista, she knew she had friends that might want PT because of, we'd ended up speaking about a couple of the people that I have worked with that are similar, kind of build and life age and life scenario that they're in. And that's, when she's seen the Facebook post around it, that's why she shared it. And then finally, the E part is extending out that invitation maybe a little bit more deliberately. It can be subtle, it can be deliberate, but it's just letting people know that the door is open to get help from you. Because again, there's still this, like, maybe it's a British thing, I'm not sure, but like, people still feel a bit weird about asking for help, or they feel like they're troubling you. I've seen it so many times over the years. Like, I didn't want to ask you just in case. It's like, where's my job? I'm here to help you. Like, but people feel really bad for doing it. Again, this is it. The gym floor and classes are naturally going to be somewhere you can do this a lot of the time. But if you end up in any of those places that we've listed out regularly, then you'll have more opportunities to extend out that invitation too. But the whole point of it is to leave the door open with no pressure. So a couple of ways I've just written down here that might spark some ideas of how you personally want to say it in your words and your tone and the way you deliver things. Like for me, I'll just go, if you want to spend a bit of time working on that knee pain, let me know. We could just book in a little session somewhere. I'll show you a few things that you can do that will help it. All right. Or if it's someone at a class, I was like, have you got 5 minutes now? Awesome. Like, would you like me to take you through some of those things to stop your knee hurting? Super low pressure. I'm not trying to force them into it. Even if I'm saying booking in a little session, I'm not asking them to sign up to a package and sign away for like 200 plus a month. I'm just saying, look, come and have one session with me because I know I can solve that thing for you. And again, super low commitment. They can come if they want. It's still leaving it in their court to actually book the session in. But at this point, they'll, if they ask how, here's my email address, here's my work number, here's all the things that we can do to have communication. All right, so it's nothing too crazy or pushy in that respect. Okay, so as a recap, we've got connection, micro value, or offer micro value, raise some curiosity, extend that invitation. And it's fluid, right? Like these things can happen in the first conversation you ever have. It could happen over 6 months. People chip away very, very slowly. In the commercial gym I worked at, when I got to know people, there were some people that you would ask you how you are straight away. There were others it took like 2 months of just saying good morning, goodbye before they actually then wanted to engage in a proper conversation. But it's chipping away over time, trying to build those connections. That's going to be the most important part. All right. Because all the other things can't really happen until you have a decent connection with someone. And somebody knows that you're being a genuine person who's genuinely interested, who can genuinely help. All right. So again, kind of reiterating really, like these relationships take time. It's about being genuine. People will, it's great to leave people feeling seen, valued, and understood. And if we can connect authentically, we will positively impact as many people as possible, right? And people will love the impact we have on them because of our authenticity and being genuine, and truly taking the time to accept them and see them. Okay, so you have this list now, whether it's some of your own plus combination of mine. All you've now got to do is kind of begin to map out how you're going to get yourself in and around those places to spread that word about what you do. And that's something, if you are getting stuck with, message me about it. We can talk through those things. And I think it'd be awesome to do this. All right. But in summary, social media isn't necessary for lead generation, like by any stretch of the imagination. Like I say, it's nice to have there if we can tolerate doing it and we don't mind doing it, but it's not necessary. But there are so many more places than you think where you can get clients from, and they can come from places you would never imagine. But we need to allow ourselves to think outside the box, and it's the slow, steady process of trying to connect with people. We're not trying to shoot for the sale straight away. We're not trying to be the shark in the waters. We're there being genuine people that genuinely give a shit about that person in front of us. And then from there, it's just to get across those different places on your list and start this process of trying to get to know people. The more people that know you, they'll know that you're the PT, you're the online coach, you're the person that can help them. And they will start coming your way for either for their own things or referring their friends, to this, which is really, really cool. And a nice little quote by Maya Angelou is, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." All right. And again, it's just reinforcing that fact, like, give a shit about that person in front of you. And then if you want the cheat sheet, you can probably find the link to this with the video. Okay, so have a go at it. Let me know if you have any questions about any of those things, the 10 lists, or how you want to go about this, and I will help you out with this.